We'll start today. It's May 30th at 9 o'clock here in the community of Tantallon. We're here to give you an update from the scene. My name is Dave Meldrum. I'm a Deputy Chief with Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency. We also have Forestry Resources Technician David Steeves from the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, and Constable Guy Leblanc from H Division of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Corporal Leblanc, and he will also be able to answer questions in the French language, should that be requested. I'll give a brief update on behalf of Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency. So last night our crews remained in this area, and we patrolled this area and extinguished hot spots and areas of open flame and small fires that could threaten residences and contribute to fire spread in the operational period. The fire behavior last night was stable thanks to favorable weather conditions, so we were quite grateful for that. We had a pretty good night, made some progress, and there were no injuries and no significant incidents reported from the night operations. Today we're here with our partner agencies to continue to work this long and difficult scene. Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency has 6 engines, 10 tankers, and a number of other ancillary units on scene. We have about 60 firefighters. That number goes up and down throughout the day. It may increase if our fire conditions change, which we'll talk about in a minute. We're also very grateful that the Department of National Defence are here. You've seen there are 2 large pump and roll range units which have real excellent capabilities, and they have 9 personnel here with us today, so we're grateful for them. Our plan today is going to work hand in hand with our partners here at the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. We're being formed into approximately 6 strike teams. So these strike teams will have engines and tankers and firefighters from HRM and D&D and allied agencies, and will be led and supervised and directed by the Department of Natural Resources forestry technicians. We know that this today could be a challenging day. There will be a change in the weather, and in a minute David Steeves will give us a technical briefing on the expected fire conditions. I want to remind everyone that the updates from the municipality are available online. Please check halifax.ca, and you'll see a big blue action button which says Fires in Tantallon and Hammonds Plains areas. Click that button. You'll see what we call accordion on the web layout. So all the subjects are there if you want to unfold damage to buildings, if you want to unfold what's happening. There's a number of topics there, evacuation areas. So at this time I'm going to ask David Steeves to please come forward and give an update.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Steeves. I'm with the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. Just a brief update on the fire situation for this morning. I can say that there was no significant growth in the fire perimeter overnight. That is a positive thing, but once this inversion lifts, basically what's going to happen is the heat from the sun is going to start to change the situation on the ground. We are expecting a bit of a weather shift today, so winds are going to be coming out of the southwest, sustained at 15, gusting to 30. And basically what that means is we are going to be expecting some level of possible significant fire behavior this afternoon. Basically what that means is it's going to be an increased dangerous situation for the firefighters that are on the ground. So again, safety is going to be paramount in all of our tactical decisions. Our objectives for today, we are going to be concentrating on structure protection alongside with our partnering agencies HRM Fire, as well as any other areas concerning reinforcing our perimeter flanks. We do have 3 helicopters on site, and they will be actioning mostly any of the fuels that are of serious concern until we get a better swing as to what the weather's going to do later on this afternoon. I spoke briefly yesterday about the possibility of reburn, and what reburn is when the fire goes through a specific area, it cures those fuels. So those fuels that haven't been consumed the first time that fire goes over now are ready to burn. So the possibility of reburn today, if we do get this expected behavior switch, could create a very dangerous environment. So we are watching that incredibly close. We are hopeful that we can make some gains today, but we'll have to wait and see how the environment is going to work with us on that. Guy?
Morning everyone, I'm Corporal Guy Tremblay, Public Information Officer for Halifax District RCMP. This morning we'd like to continue to remind the public not to return to evacuated zones if you have been evacuated. It's very important to give those first responders all the space that they need to continue their work today. As well, if you have any prescription medication that you left behind, please seek information and medication from your local pharmacy or health professionals. As with any significant incidents, as before with the hurricanes, there could be scams that could be popping up here and there. And we remind everyone to get the information from halifax.ca, go right to the source and phone those numbers that are trusted and authentic in attempts to make sure that you don't get frauded. If you have any questions in French as well, I'll be able to answer those. Oui, absolument. Je suis le caporal Guillaume Tremblay, je suis agent d'information publique pour le district Halifax de la GRC. Ce matin, on rappelle aux évacués de ne pas retourner aux zones qui ont été évacuées. C'est très important de donner tout l'espace requis pour les premiers répondants et les pompiers de faire leur travail aujourd'hui. Si vous avez oublié des médicaments ou des prescriptions à vos résidences, veuillez vérifier avec vos pharmacies ou docteurs locaux pour avoir une autre ordonnance émise au lieu de retourner ou essayer de retourner à vos résidences. En ce qui concerne les fraudes ou les arnaques, comme tous les gros incidents, comparativement aux ouragans, on vous rappelle vraiment d'aller à la source pour les informations légitimes et authentiques pour éviter d'être victime. Alors le site c'est halifax.ca pour tout avoir les informations pertinentes pour les feux de forêt. Merci. Thank you. Oui. Oui, absolument. Alors, le chef des pompiers aujourd'hui a mentionné qu'ils vont continuer leurs efforts pour les feux et vraiment de donner l'espace pour que les pompiers travaillent aujourd'hui. Sir, we're just recapping what you said earlier. Parfaitement. Is there anything additional you'd like for me to say in French in regards to efforts today out there on the...
Yes, please, Steve. First of all, our thoughts are with our residents who are affected by this terrible fire.
Nos pensées sont avec tous ceux qui sont évacués aujourd'hui et on apprécie vraiment le support pour les premiers répondants aussi.
It's very important that people cooperate with the evacuation zone. This is not a safe place to come.
Alors, la zone qui est évacuée est très dangereuse. C'est très important que tous les résidents qui ont été évacués évitent de retourner à la zone et ceux qui sont dans les environs de ne pas venir dans les environs de Tantallon ou les autres zones évacuées. Vraiment pour donner le maximum d'espace aux pompiers et premiers répondants qui sont sur les lieux.
And finally, there is a province-wide burn ban against outdoor fires of all kinds. It's critical that no one burns anything at all at this critical time.
Aussi, un petit rappel, il y a une interdiction contre tout feu à l'extérieur pour la province de la Nouvelle-Écosse. Alors, c'est très important qu'il n'y ait aucun feu à l'extérieur de vos résidences présentement en Nouvelle-Écosse. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Absolutely. So this morning, our partners at EHS did let us know in briefing that they've seen an increase in calls to their dispatch center regarding respiratory distress calls, people not feeling well, as far away from this site all the way out to Dunbrack Street in Halifax. So we had some cold air that kind of held the smoke down this morning and kind of pushed it out laterally. We know motorists on Highway 103 encountered heavy smoke conditions during their morning commute today. Smoke is definitely a stressor. I am not a medical professional, but I know that folks who are vulnerable, that may have compromised immune systems, or may have respiratory disease, have to be very, very careful about in the area of smoke. It's advisable to remain indoors. When going outdoors, the use of an appropriate respirator or mask is very, very good advice. An N95 respirator is a great thing for folks to consider at this time, and we all get a lot of practice with those in recent years, as you know. Yeah, this can be a health concern, and folks should take it seriously.
I guess my last question on that would be, is that could be a revolving dynamic to this fire as the temperature drops down at nighttime, we'll see the smoke cover like it did this morning, it dissipates through the day, next day the same thing happens. Is that a feature you can see with this fire going forward?
Absolutely, and I'll answer generally and technical questions. I'd refer to my partner over here, David. But yeah, if we have this thermal inversion, so if cool air kind of puts a lid on it, in my layperson's terms, that can hold the smoke down. As the day warms, the smoke will get more vertical. That is, it will rise more away. The other very obvious but important concern is wind direction. So where the wind goes, the smoke will carry. And as folks will know, the smoke can carry for many, many kilometers away from our site.
Can you speak to the lack of water resources and what it meant for the fire?
The lack of water resources. Well, for this fire was moving incredibly fast. So keeping up with the fire during Sunday's events was more about the speed of the fire and our ability to get resources on the flanks of that fire quickly, and less about the availability of water resources. This doesn't mean that we don't need adequate supplies of firefighting water in our communities. It simply means that the speed of this fire was the greatest dynamic, and the intensity of this fire was so serious that our firefighters could not work in the front or the head of the fire for their own safety.
Are there adequate water supplies for firefighting in these communities, though? Has that changed in the last few years? Have you added dry hydrants in these communities?
We absolutely have a program of annually maintaining a series of dry hydrants throughout HRM, and in addition we install new ones. That's an ongoing program that our department works in conjunction with our planning folks, and we will continue that work because it's very important.
I don't know who would be best to speak to it, but you're talking about reburn. Does that place homes in these areas at further risk as the fire comes back into the area? Does that same principle apply to?
Would you like the microphones, David? Yeah.
Reburn is a concern for every structure and every person that's up there because it is a realistic possibility. Those fuels that are left from the original time when the fire passed through are now 100% cured and they are ready to burn. That's why it is so important that that folks respect these evacuation zones and stay out. We're not asking them to stay away from their homes because that's what we want to do. We're asking them to stay away from their homes because it's the safest thing for them to do. The potential for reburn is very real and it's very dangerous. People can become entrapped, firefighters can become entrapped. We base every decision that we make out there on solid science and fire behavior. So the less people up there, the less fear of something horrible happening. So reburn is a very realistic possibility, and we have to ensure that if and when folks do get back in there that it's not a concern anymore. But right now it is.
C'est certain qu'il y a beaucoup de structures qui ont été endommagées, mais par contre, les commentaires pour vraiment le nombre de maisons endommagées, ça va venir des services des incendies. They have a question in regards to structure damage. If we have any, what does the scene look like out? Any damages or any numbers that we can provide in that?
Maybe I'll come to the mic.
Absolutely,
and speak to that,
yes, and I can repeat it in French, sir, yes.
Try to, absolutely. Yeah, so the municipality released a gross estimate, that is our preliminary estimate for destroyed and damaged properties. Please bear in mind that this is very preliminary at this time. We will be providing further information. I can tell you that firefighters from the line have reported both partial damage to structures and complete destruction of structures where only a foundation is remaining. It's going to take us considerable time to make sure that we have all that information gathered together. We're going to plot it and put it into our geographic information services so that we have the precise location and civic address of each and every damaged property. That information, when available, will be put up on halifax.ca.
Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on vient de mentionner, c'est que les pompiers qui sont sur place ont constaté beaucoup de dommages, des résidences qui ont été complètement brûlées et d'autres partiellement brûlées. Et les informations vraiment sont accumulées et les pompiers continuent à prendre les numéros civiques des résidences et ces informations-là vont être affichées sur le site halifax.ca plus tard cette semaine, j'imagine. Do we have an estimate on the as to when that information could be?
Not at this time.
Alors, on n'a pas d'estimé pour quand les informations seront sur le site de halifax.ca. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions en français? Alors, cette question-là, ça va être vraiment par les services des incendies. They're asking when should families expect to find out if and when in regards to any damages to their residences, and who will contact them.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question, and we understand how terribly upsetting it is for people who are outside of this area and don't know what's happened to their properties and don't know when they come back. And we will work as quickly as we can. We cannot say right now when we'll be able to notify residents, and further when we'll be able to bring residents back and reoccupy this area. It's going to be complicated. It's a large area. Again, as we spoke about yesterday, there are also issues with utilities, making sure road surfaces are safe and suitable. And so this plan will take us some days to put together, and we ask for patience and understanding as we do our best and support those residents who are impacted.
Oui, je peux vous répéter ça en français. Alors, le service des incendies demande la patience du public en ce qui concerne les dommages et vraiment nos pensées sont avec les propriétaires des résidences et ceux qui sont évacués. Ça va prendre vraiment beaucoup de temps pour avoir toutes les informations précises pour quelles résidences ont été endommagées ou brûlées complètement et on demande vraiment la patience du public en ce qui concerne les dommages. C'est certain que vous avez sûrement constaté une file d'attente hier avec nos agents de la GRC à certains points de contrôle. Par contre, en ce qui concerne les médicaments, on demande vraiment au public de contacter leur pharmacie ou bien les docteurs de famille pour obtenir une autre ordonnance ou une prescription pour les médicaments. C'est très important de vraiment donner le secteur aux pompiers et aux premiers répondants. On a besoin de tout l'espace possible. Ils ont mentionné aussi que les feux, c'est possible qu'ils se rallument, que les feux prennent place encore. Monsieur Steeves a mentionné qu'il y a quand même des morceaux de bois qui ont été brûlés, mais ils sont encore chauds. Alors, c'est vraiment dangereux de retourner dans la zone. C'est pour cette raison qu'on demande et on limite vraiment l'accès aux zones évacuées. C'est très important. Si vous avez besoin de médicaments, contactez vos docteurs de famille ou bien consultez avec les pharmacies locales. Merci.
I apologize, I don't have any information on the Shelburne fire. My area of responsibility is solely what's happening up here in the Tantallon area. I apologize for that.
Deputy Chief, are you able to speak to whether this fire started with an illegal burn and what sort of charges may be contemplated if that's the case?
Certainly what I know is that this fire is under investigation. The investigation of the fire is led by the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. HRM fire investigators are assisting and collaborating, but this file is a DNRR file, and so I don't know, David, do you have any additional information?
Nothing additional to that, but just that there is an active and ongoing investigation. Our investigators are still here gathering the information, and they are working in conjunction with our conservation officer enforcement staff as well. So.
Mr. Steeves, in terms of this reburn, how many hectares, or can you give some sense of how much area is at threat from this return of the fire?
So how the fire burned yesterday, I referred to it as a dirty burn. And basically what a dirty burn is when a fire comes through an area, it burns so hot and so quickly that it kind of hopscotches from place to place. When it does this, the radiant heat from the fire is still there drying those fuels that are left. So there are large patches of unburned fuel in the middle of the actual fire perimeter. And that is what makes this situation so precarious. To have a measurement on that is, I couldn't even begin to guess on an actual measurement for that, but there is a significant amount of fuels left within the actual fire perimeter.
Is there a kind of a strategy to protect housing in that situation? Can you describe it?
We are working shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues with HRM Fire. One of our main objectives for this operational period is structure protection. So we do have crews in the field who are constantly patrolling and looking for additional areas of concern. They're reporting that right back to our operations section, and any type of attack, like initial attack or water or anything that is needed, is implemented in a relatively quick fashion.
Are you concerned that the fire will grow this afternoon or just move?
Well, there's always potential. The wildland fire environment is very fluid and very dynamic, and it's always changing. One small fluctuation in the weather can change fire behavior dramatically. And like I said, once this inversion lifts, the weather is going to cause us a little bit of concern here today. So the winds are going to be coming out of the southwest. So given that we are expecting possible fire behavior potential, we are going to be following that very, very closely with our fire behavior analysis that we have actually on site here. So if things get to the point where it's looking like it's going to be dangerous for folks on the line, we will remove them and increase our air resources.
Deputy Chief, just a question about evacuations. And there's been some people that felt that it was a little bit chaotic and difficult to get out, lack of exits. From your perspective as a deputy fire chief, are there improvements in our planning we need to do to make it easier for people to evacuate in emergencies like this?
Absolutely. So it was chaotic. There's no doubt about it. This was an extreme event, an unseen before event for many, many of us. And but it is very important that community planning consider emergency access and egress. And we work with our planning folks and developers in our municipality and talk about communities and what will communities look like in the coming years, especially communities that are in what we call the urban interface, the wildland urban interface. HRM in Nova Scotia is a beautiful, beautiful place to live, and we all so much enjoy the beauty of nature. But as we build deeper into what used to be forested land, consideration now must be made for lots of places for firefighters to get water, many, many routes in and out of communities, wide and stable roads to allow people to get in and out and allow firefighters to get in. All these factors together. Indeed, we are endeavoring on a program as the fire service this year to train residents in Fire Smart so that folks can defend their own property through preparation. So this includes things like clearing back vegetation and using less combustible construction methods and not having flammable risks around their property. Things like wood piles close to your home. It's amazing how these simple precautions can increase the survivability of a residential process. So yes, there's many improvements we can make in our community design, both at the community level and right down to the individual residential home level. I can't say if it was a factor given the such dynamic and rapid fire growth that this is, beyond my usual experience.
Do you feel you have enough resources both on the ground and in the air?
We have enough for this operational period. Certainly on Sunday, did we have enough? Could we get it in place on time? Again, we were limited by geography and time and space. We have enough to do this work. What is certainly a concern is this is going to be a prolonged event. We've been speaking about this for some time. And while we continue to work here, and we will not leave here until this work is done, and we will bring the resources that are needed to bear, we will also ensure that fire suppression and fire protection exists and is adequate throughout the rest of the municipality. So this week is going to be a tough week for us.
Deputy Chief, on a personal level, how are firefighters doing? You said they were run off their feet on Sunday, obviously. How was yesterday?
Yeah. I presume to speak for firefighters, but some general themes. They're tired, right? They're also proud. They're concerned about community. They're concerned about their ability to do more. And our firefighters did a great job, and we're very, very proud of them. And we know our firefighters are community members, as are all first responders. There are members of police services, I'm sure emergency health services and firefighters who live in this community and who have been impacted. So our firefighters are feeling all those things put together.
What's that, sir?
Just asking about, if you could comment on, is there any issues right now with any incidents with homes that have not been, nobody's in these homes, evidently undesirables looking to take advantage of that situation?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember our officers out there. We have between 30 to 40 resources deployed at checkpoints throughout the communities, and they are actively patrolling all the homes and communities as well. Wherever the officers can safely do so, where there's no fires, we will be patrolling those communities actively to ensure that the properties are safe. In regards to actual incidents that were reported there, I don't have that information currently.
Do you have any sense of how many people have refused to leave and are staying in their houses in the evacuated zone?
I don't have that information with me currently. However, what I can say is that it comes back to some of those individuals that may be trying to attempt to regain access to their homes, whether it could be through false pretense. It's very important that, you know, they stay outside the evacuated zones. If they require prescription medication, to go to those pharmacies or elsewhere. You know, it has been brought forward that some of those individuals that were waiting in lineups, you know, they may be trying to gain access to their homes, and once they are in their homes, our concerns is that they may not want to leave, right? And it's still being evacuated, so the order is still in place, and the homes need to be vacant. It's very dangerous to be in those areas, and they spoke about reburn, so just imagine if we allow people to return to their homes to gain access to get those belongings or medication, and there is reburn, then we're putting first responders at risk and a lot of members of the community at risk, and we want to avoid that. You know, our thoughts are with those evacuated. We know it's very stressful, and I'm sure they're very anxious to find out and return to their homes. But please stay away from the evacuated zones. It's very important to do so.
Chief, are you encountering people staying in their homes as your firefighters work?
I'm sure that there are some who remain, but our firefighters are encountering residents who are cooperative, certainly distraught, certainly impacted, but the cooperation that we've received from residents in this community is commendable, and it's important to what we do. Take 2 more questions, please.
Just sort of piggybacking on the question earlier about the chaotic nature of the evacuation, and I know some folks specifically living in Highland Park had evacuated well before the emergency was issued. Why was that? Can you speak to that?
I can't speak to the individual actions of residents. Certainly as residents became aware that something was going on, I'm sure that folks took action in the way that they saw best to do in the moment. I can say that we did everything we could to get the word out quickly. We were pushing the messages through our dispatch center. Police and fire and other agencies were moving through communities rapidly, honking horns, knocking on doors, and fighting fires all at the same time. So, you know, all best efforts have been made, and we are appreciative of the efforts that residents made as soon as they became aware of an emergency in the community.
And any steps being taken right now to sort of proactively address, anything that the first responders may need during this difficult time?
Without question, every day. So we'll be looking, all the agencies, you know, on our own and together, we'll be looking for support. I know in fire we have a peer support network where firefighters can call any time of day, any day of year, and get support. At every operational cycle and every meeting, we talk about how our folks are doing and how they are making out. Also in a larger way, the regional municipality is looking to support employees who have been impacted by this event. So we're talking about such things as additional paid leaves for folks who have been evacuated from these communities to help them out.
We asked yesterday about is there anything the public could do as far as helping provide hot meals for folks who maybe didn't think that had been taken care of on your front, but I think a lot of the public are still wanting help in any way that they can. Any message to the public on how they can help other than, of course, just avoiding the area?
Absolutely. You know, we've been overwhelmed with kindness, and we so appreciate it. And here on this site, we've received, you know, donations of food and materials, and our Emergency Operations Center for the municipality is getting calls and calls and calls from businesses and individuals. And thank you so much. At this time, what I would suggest is individuals should find the appropriate cause, be it the Red Cross or another agency of charity that can help folks during this difficult time, and consider donating.
Deputy Chief. That's a question in regards to structures that were damaged. The municipality released about 200 structures. They're wondering if it's residences, or are we talking in detached garage, sheds, or other types of structures?
So the structures that have been observed to be damaged are predominantly single-family homes, but there are also detached buildings such as garages, sheds, and other types.
Alors en français, la majorité des structures qui ont été endommagées, c'est des maisons unifamiliales, résidentielles, des garages qui sont séparés des résidences et certains cabanons aussi.
I want to thank you very much for attending this briefing this morning. We will look through the next planning cycle and the meetings we're having today, and if we schedule an update for early this evening, we will push that out through a media advisory. Thank you very much. Animals.
Yeah, but I mean, and what folks are, who are missing their pets or anything about you can tell us about the rescue efforts for animals still?
I don't have information on animal rescues. I don't know if anyone else does. Sorry, I don't have that.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.